All right, engineering students, welcome back to the wood shop. We're working on the CNC router, and in this video we're going to do a little bit of a V-carve. Let's take a look at the pattern that we're going to be using. So I'm going to pull up the Carbide the Carbide Create software. In a previous video we had traced the outline of the UND logo, and we're going to put that into a toolpath and create it from there. So just like before, let me actually just delete this toolpath here so you can see what we're talking about. Into our design, if we highlight the logo, the thing that we want to have V-carve, go to our toolpaths, and in this case we're actually going to create a V-carve tool pattern here. Use the selection that we see, and this is fine. We can have a max depth of 0.1. We could go a little bit deeper if we wanted to, and maybe make it like 0.15 if need be. We'll see. And then hit OK. That creates a tool path, and we can show that simulation again. I think we did this the last time as well. You can see the tool path that it's going to take for that. Go back to the Design tab or Tool Paths. And in this case, one of the things I recommend is that we have to do manual tool changes. So if you're going to have a couple of different tools, in this case we had a 1/4 inch round end mill, and we have a V-carve bit. So I only recommend saving those as individual files so that we have one of one type and one of another. We can do manual tool changes throughout. So like this contour toolpath that says outside circle, I'm actually going to hit disable on that, and then save this toolpath as a toolpath here. I've done this before. The file name we're going to do is UND-VEE for a V cutter. Hit save on that. Sure, let's replace it. So that should be just the V-cut piece as one separate Carbide Create file. Then if I go back into the Carbide Motion and hit Load New File, locate that UND-V file, open it up. And we didn't really get into the details here, but this is where we can see what is it that we're cutting from a top view, what's going to get cut, from a side view, what are we looking at. We can look at it from an ISO view and see the actual G code if we want. But I'm happy with that. It's just that V-carve logo. And so I'm going to hit start that job, and this is really no different than what we've done before. So we did a tool change, and now we're going to cut this out. So it takes a little bit of time, as always, to get this thing prepared. And the first thing it's going to ask us for is, do you want to have a tool change required? Yep, that's good. Another thing worth mentioning is that we want to make sure that the enabled spindle button is indicating red when we're cutting things out. If this is disabled, it's not going to turn on the spindle automatically. So make sure that that is showing red, it's ready to cut. And in this case, back to the software, it's yelling at us and saying, hey, tool change required. Yeah, we just did the tool change. Life is good. It's going to come down and do that automatic. I guess it's slightly off view of this camera, but you can see where it's going down and touching off again on that little tool height button. And then back to the software, fires up. And I got to turn on the dust collector. All right, the noise is finished, and we have our finished part here ready to go. The great part about this painter's tape is that a lot of times you can just, grab an edge and lift the part right off of the table. It's really stuck this time. There she goes. She's breaking free. All right, pretty amazing how well secured that is to the table. So we'll get that sometimes a little, wow, I'm having fun with that. I'll get it off, just gonna take a little bit of force. It's really stuck. All right, so there we have it. That's an example of us setting up and carving a V-carve, making that UND logo. Just keep in mind, if you're making individual tool paths, it's best to make a file that just does the outside, and then make another file that just does the V carving, and upload those. And once you've had a 0, 0 on a certain corner, it should keep track and remind where it was. Now, the only problem with that is if you were to shut down the machine and it loses that 0, 0 location, then we run into some problems. But this is a pretty decent way to do it. And look how closely we were able to get through that material. And looking at our spoil board, this is wonderful. If we take some close measurements with our caliper, get in there and take a look at it, it didn't even cut into the spoil board, right? There's not a single mark on there, and we've got a nice looking part that's finished. It's a little bit of cleanup work to be done. So there we go. Thank you guys, and we'll catch you next time.